Matt Connor is Chief Information Security Officer at Second Front Systems. Matt, thanks for joining me today. What are the roadblocks that you see to organizations across the government trying to integrate DevSecOps into the way that they build software now?
I think the biggest challenges are cultural. I think the challenges are largely associated with people and process. I think industry has shown that we can solve the technology challenges of modern DevSecOps and deliver at speed. I think the real challenges are the approaches for contracting seem to be a giant roadblock for agencies embracing speed to need. We see still not seeing enough embracing things like SIBRs and StratFIs, TACFIs, other transactional authorities, CRADAs, cooperative research and development agreements, ways to co-develop features and deliver features and services to agencies in need at speed. I think years and years of acquisition training has taught contracting folks out there that there needs to be a firm fixed price vehicle to transfer risk to the company. It needs to be well-defined deliverables, and I think that really undermines the promise of DevSecOps, which is handling change, a little bit of ambiguity in requirements, and doing that really with great velocity. Those are huge challenges I see from a contracting perspective. I think on the security side, I think there's a lot of growth opportunity there. I think a lot of our security personnel out there are still looking for discrete hardware and software inventories for ephemeral cloud native applications. Those things, exported from DevSecOps pipelines to governance, risk, and compliance platforms in the form of PDFs and spreadsheets that are stale at the moment that they're exported. I really think that the security personnel out there, there's probably some upskilling, education opportunity there to overcome the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of things constantly changing, which is the real, true heart of DevSecOps. I think that the more we as technology providers can build platforms that yield continuous insight into operations, steady state operations, and risk posture, not just a moment in time view of vulnerability, a moment in time view of resources, but a continuous insight into what is the true operating state of this application, function, or whatever. I think the better off security personnel will be. They need that real risk insight. I think the other challenge for security folks is looking at things as outcome-based and not as systems. Not that soda straw view of one discrete set of processing resources, but a set of capabilities that deliver on a function, a business process, a mission outcome. Understanding what is the real risk to delivering that capability. I think that's the real trick that we've got to pivot in with agencies and in the government.
You mentioned contracting approaches at the beginning of your comments there. My thought was, do the right approaches exist and people aren't using them, or does somebody need to create those right approaches? It sounds like you think that the right approaches already exist and people aren't leveraging them to the degree that they could. Am I hearing you right?
I do, yeah. I think the mechanisms exist to make small bets, to co-develop with partners, to iterate over time. I think that there's too much emphasis on sort of the big classic source selection, some of the big classic integration contracts, those kinds of things. I think that those mechanisms that I mentioned, SIBR, StratFIs, TACFIs, those kinds of things, they're there. They just don't get used enough. And I don't know if it's because of scrutiny or the burden of regulation or just fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But I think that we're not seeing enough embracing of those small bets, and the mechanisms are in place.
Is it a matter of some leadership somewhere telling people you have to start doing this? Or is there a carrot approach versus a stick approach? What would drive that utilization, do you think?
I think it's both. I think we are seeing some innovative leaders. I mean, there are people in the Army, for example, that are really leaning forward with us to to make those to leverage those kinds of contract vehicles. Nothing breeds adoption like success, and so leveraging some of those contract vehicles, yielding a quick outcome that is responsive to need, I think breeds adoption. And so we're seeing those kinds of things. There's a bit of a flywheel effect of once it succeeds somewhere, everybody else wants it. But I think it's both. I do think the tone starts at the top. The more leaders emphasize, I want fewer big, massive integration contracts that take years to award and years to execute, the more that leaders sort of say, I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to take a little bit of risk here. I mean, you can take calculated risks. You have to calculate them, but you take calculated risks. But the more that I think leaders convey that tone, the more that we'll see people willing to step out a little bit out of their comfort zone and embrace some of those more innovative approaches.
Is measuring success as simple as we delivered a secure end product, or we delivered a product that's secure and in an iterative process, but it's now doing something for the end user? Or is there more to it than that, Matt?
That's an interesting question, and I'm not sure that there's a substantive difference. I mean, ultimately, what we're after is outcomes, right? So we have a need, whether that need is to deliver an intelligence product, whether that need is to deliver a defense product, or whether that need is to improve a business process for a taxpayer. I think that the outcome is what ultimately matters, and doing it in a sufficiently agile way that responds to change, I think, is the real measure of success there. Doing that in a way that yields the insight that security risk acceptors need, that's table stakes, right? There's just simply no substitution for having continuous insight into the risk posture of that system.
Matt, it's great to have you with me. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Francis.